So, I am about a week removed from the Great South Florida Toy Hunt Road Trip 2015, and I wanted to review what I kind of thought was the best rescue of the entire trip. You're looking at it right now, a G1 Swoop. This is not a reproduction, this is the vintage, the original. It is older than a lot of the people currently watching this review. This is one of the most fragile of G1 toys. It did not survive the rough playing of children in the 80s, so this is a bit of a rare treat for me, not only to have, but to get to review for you guys. So you'll excuse me if I'm a little bit soft-handed when it comes to playing around with this toy, especially once we get to transformation. As you can see, he is a pteranodon of sorts, or pterodactyl, whichever one you want to pretend it is. I will tell you, unlike what Hasbro would have you believe these days, he never had two heads. In fact, literally, his one head's going to transform into the other. He was never called Strafe. He was never one of the Technobots. Now, this is how Swoop originally looked. As you can see, most of his coloring is actually chrome, with that big wingspan completely decked out in chrome. And this is good chrome. 30 years and it has not chipped or scratched in any way. Tough stuff. Beyond that, he's molded in gray, black, and red, giving him the more traditional Dinobot color scheme. We take a look at the head. I will tell you, the beak, as far as I've seen on much better examples of this toy, the beak is not supposed to be yellow. Ironically, that makes it more show accurate. However, as far as I can tell, it's supposed to be clear, and you can actually see there's some clear plastic closer to the head. This is most likely sun damage, or it might just be how this particular version of the toy aged. Either way, the examples I've seen have been all clear, but I don't think it detracts from it, especially since it was always yellow in the cartoon. So it's actually strangely accurate, with a little bit of damage. As far as other pteranodon features, we see the tail molded in, and that is also chromed as well. The little feet sticking out the back as if he is in mid-flight. Now, on the underside, interestingly enough, since it is a robot, of course, we do have landing gear. A little wheel here that barely rolls, and then just two molded in pieces just to keep his bottom from scraping up. You actually do have to kind of cheat his transformation a little bit in order to get this part in and out. So I kind of have to separate him out a little bit, close it in, and there we go. We can close it back up. I'm going to go ahead and fold the feet down so you can also have him in a more perched position. If you want to display him a little bit more on his feet, as it were. Well, yeah, if you want to just display him on his feet. So yeah, I like that he has those two stances. Really dig that. As far as action features, that's pretty much it. G1, so it's pretty basic. His mouth does open up and down. You can actually see there's a bit of molding inside for like a gun barrel or some kind of machinery that you want to imagine. A little bit up to interpretation on that one, as a lot of these older toys are. If we want real armament, he did come with a pair of missile launchers. The launchers themselves do peg into the underside of the wings. A little bit loose on one due to age. Thank you very much. So, in very Seeker-esque, you can kind of fly around and start launching missiles from the air. Missiles that look like this. Now, this is in the 80s when apparently parents did not realize that a child might pop something like this into their mouths thinking it is candy or, because they just don't know any better. So the missile is very short. So while very unsafe, this did make sure it flew very, very far. And knowing this, they actually did give you spares back then, which is kind of a cool touch they don't do anymore because cost-cutting jerks. I will not be firing them off on camera, not for some cockamamie conjured-up reason for a running gag, but because this is an old toy and the springs in the launchers have completely sprung. We did mention this was a fragile little thing. So that's pretty much what we got going for the beast mode. Outside of that, you can see a lot of extra, you can see a ton of molding. I will give you a close-up of the molding detail Lots of it. And the stickers just adding more. It's that wires and circuitry and all kinds of bare machinery those old school stickers always had. Really, really dig that. And you get your Autobot rub symbol right there on the wing. Yep, confirmed, Autobot. Just want to make sure before I transform you, you aren't a traitor. Just because you have a big Autobot symbol on your nose does not mean I trust you completely. Alright, so, robot mode time. This is where we get a little bit sketchy, as, yeah, he is an old thing. So we're going to unfold the legs from the back. I actually like how, well-formed and concise his beast mode is. Considering, any other attempt at creating him. You remember the Energon? The Energon Swoop? It's, nice, and it kind of transforms the exact same way. But it did have that thing there where, they tried to fold up the legs, and they were just too bulky. They didn't come together that well. Hang on. This one's a little bit stubborn. I'm being very careful here. If I break a 30-plus old toy on camera, I'm going to be very unhappy. Okay, we got the legs. So, from there, I'm going to fold the wings back to collapse them down. We're going to pull this part out again. Come on, all the way out, and I'm trying to be very careful as everything just 30 years of age on it. We also have to completely pull these out in order to get the arms forward, and we can extend the arms like that. One extends farther on mine than the other for some reason, but one doesn't go, so we'll leave it up there just so it looks a little bit more even. And thank you, Lawn Maintenance Man, for that abrupt cut. Thought you were done for the day, but apparently not. Jeez, you wait, and just make sure you get nice and quiet. It never quite works out, now does it? The struggles of a video reviewer. And now that the lawn maintenance professional has done his damage for the day, thank you very much for ruining my shoot! Let's actually talk about Swoop's robot mode, shall we? As G1 as it gets, Swoop is very blocky, very solid, and I kind of love him this way. So, as per usual, it's the close-up of the head. You'll notice it's G1, so not a whole lot going on the face. You will notice he has a visor for his eyes rather than the eyes you saw in the show. So, yeah, that's animation models taking liberty as they are prone to do. You'll also notice his chest is completely red, whereas in the show you would remember it as blue. That's because the Diaclone version of the toy was blue. That's where they got the animation model from. So yeah, he's not quite accurate, but then again, a lot of G1 toys aren't. I am just happy he's largely the same as his animation model as far as shape and proportions go. Everything seems to be there on both versions, so I'm relatively happy with how he looks. So yeah, Swoop in robot mode. Nice and solid. Digging it. As you can see, a lot more red showing through here, just because all those chrome bits that form the bulk of his color in vehicle mode now, or beast mode, G1, habit, now tucked away on his back, folded nicely away, of course. What's ironic to me is, when I stop to think about it, he kind of gets, a G1, Seeker silhouette to him, doesn't he? With the wings on his back and what would be a nose cone. Instead, it's a beak going down his center. This is just a little bit of irony. They do transform, or they don't transform very similarly, but they do have a very similar silhouette and shape to them overall. I do like how it transforms, just because it's clean, it's efficient. It doesn't do anything unnecessary, as a lot of G1 toys don't. You can still see a lot of the beast mode. Little claws still sticking out as the kneecaps, which kind of works in a weird way. Also, I kind of dig the mohawk going back, as the rest of the Pteranodon head just kind of pokes out of the back of the robot mode head. Actually, kind of a nice touch. If we want to take a closer look at the chest, which is the bulk of the new detail, you can see little pipes and little groove lines and everything. This is back when the detailing wasn't heavy, but it was there. It does rely more on stickers, of course, which we do have some new ones visible on the arms. Just some simple striping in various colors to shake them up a little bit. And you can see a few more there on the thighs, a few on the knees and feet. Just a little random tech detail here and there. I do like that there's a little bit of red paint down the side of his leg to break up that gray. That's a nice little touch, not entirely necessary. You will excuse me as there's going to be a few stickers missing and a few that are really coming off. As said, the toy is older than you watching this video most likely are. So it's a little rough around the edges, but in a way, especially on a secondhand toy, kind of gives it character that I don't mind. Speaking of character, we can bring those launchers back. They can still fit in his wings if you want them there, or they can fit in either of his hands. Swoop was the only G1 Dinobot who did not have a static handheld gun accessory, but he's also the only one that had more than one launcher. So that, I believe, is an upgrade. He also had his own sword, as all Dinobots did, molded in the red plastic. I believe his had a different name than the other ones did. I can never keep track of the names of the G1 weapons, really. It's not a bad design. It has this strange little bar sticking off of it, which I tend to put toward the back, just so the blade is sticking out forward. I do like the design of the Dinobot swords. They have a little bit of tech detail, but for the most part, it is a big solid blade. It looks like it'd do some heavy damage. I'm kind of upset that he's never made any kind of appearance in the cartoon, just because I think it kind of suits the Dinobots to be using something a little bit more primitive than, like a laser rifle or something. So there's really not a whole lot more to talk about. He is a G1 toy, so he has your typical up and down arm articulation, and that's really all you get. Nothing in the hips at all. The knees kind of have a wobble to them because they don't lock in flush when you push them up for transformation. I think that's just age more than anything, or maybe an inability to get it all the way flush to the top. That might just be mine. I don't know. That's the hard part about reviewing such old toys, especially secondhand. You never quite know what's supposed to be that way and what's not. The same as with how this left arm goes so much farther down than the right arm. So I kind of have to figure out which way it's supposed to be. Probably not this way. I don't know. But still, I like how he looks. As for Dinobots go, he ends up being a lot cleaner. He doesn't have a bunch of shells or Dinobot parts hanging off, no dinosaur tail hanging off the back or off the sides of his legs. He's undoubtedly the cleanest of the Dinobots, albeit the far simplest of transformations among them. He commands a hefty price on eBay thanks to his fragility, his inability to survive the handlings of a child in the 80s. But if you can find him for I don't know, and I hate to judge based on price because that's a very subjective thing. I dropped $85 for mine, complete with all the parts, unbroken, chrome in nice shape. And to me, that's worth it, because I've always wanted a G1 Swoop. He is my favorite of the Dinobots, and now I have a full set of 5 G1 Dinobots on my shelf. That was worth that amount of money to me. Whether or not you would have the same opinion is completely up to you. So, I will leave it at that. I am happy with the toy. I think it's a nice figure for G1, and whether or not the sale value you find on eBay is worth it to you is entirely your choice. In the meantime, I'm going to go put this guy on a shelf and never touch him again for fear of breaking something and spending that money again.